So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. Bruno.
Welcome to Nothing But the Truth with your host, David Bruno. I'm solo again, and we're continuing the conversation with Gene Zannetti, co-owner of Wrestling Mindset. We are talking about mindset, but not just for wrestlers. This is applicable for lawyers, universally through business and beyond. I mean, these are fundamental principles we're talking about here, although it is definitely applicable to wrestling. And we're back with Gene Zannetti. Gene, thanks for coming back. You know, Gene, I think a lot of people are sleepwalking through life. You know, what you're talking about right now is really bringing awareness to day-to-day, daily decisions, stepping in the right direction, having guidance from above, journaling. I want to highlight something you said about the journaling, the gratitude habits and routines. Look, for me, and I gave the TED Talk, and it wasn't always easy for me. I mean, I'm a trial lawyer, tried big cases in front of juries. There was a period of time I was going into the city doing television, trying cases, early mornings, late nights, and burnout was my trajectory. And one thing I realized in that moment of my life is that I had to eliminate distractions. Time management is so important nowadays with the feeds and the social media and the gambling and the Netflix and all the things coming at all the different ways. So when you talk about gratitude practices, I am a huge proponent of journaling, both in the morning and in the evening. In the morning, expressing gratitude, appreciation, bringing your problems up to the awareness level and determining what actions need to be taken, control versus not control, what we have talked about. And I'll tell you what, that reset that you talk about when these things start to happen in the mind, right? I mean, that again, universal application here, because I'm a parent. Are you a parent, Gene? You have kids? For parents with young kids, I mean, how often do we see the triggers coming? The triggers are patterns of behavior that are inevitably going to lead to either screaming, yelling, right? It's like identifying these patterns in life, these triggers. The mind starts to think and lose control of reset. I mean, like you said, I mean, you do it prior to the match. You do it before the bedtime when the kids want to eat at 9:30 or they sneak off into, their bed, right? I mean, this is happening everywhere, Gene.
Yeah, you don't want to lose control while you're parenting. You probably don't want to argue with your wife the whole night. So it would behoove you to have a reset button.
Absolutely. Now, you talked a little bit, I mean, this community that you have grown is unbelievable. I mean, and for anybody, look, I feel like I'm like talking to the Instagram here with the Zooms and stuff, because I've seen some of these things already in the reels that have the comments below and are being reshared and things. And first of all, the nightly call, you referenced it. You had Bo Bartlett, Bo Bassett, some of the big hitters that are looking at NCAA titles this year. First of all, how does somebody get involved in those calls? How do they jump on? How do they be a part of the community?
Well, yeah, so we have groups. We basically have group Zoom calls where 3 nights a week they could join. It's $99 a month. That's basically our no-brainer option for people for mindset training. We have kids from 6 right through college wrestlers that are on, and not even wrestlers, just in general, right? It's just a general call. So 3 days a week, basically no-brainer option. Of course, if they are really going to want to have the best options, they're going to need a one-on-one mindset coach, because they need to open up about their doubts, fears, and insecurities, which they can't do on a group call. They need to have that interaction, because just like no 2 fingers on your hand are identical, no 2 kids are the same. So the great thing about the group calls is it's generalized knowledge, just like I'm giving on this call right now. But I can't truly help your son. It's like a mechanic. The mechanic doesn't know unless you bring your car in and you look under the hood. It's the same thing when you're working with the kid. I don't know what your kid needs. I could tell you the general principles. He'll benefit from everything I said, but what's he actually struggling with? I have no idea unless I'm working with him one-on-one. So for the best results, they need that one-on-one mindset coaching. And the great thing is we do it all over the phone, so the kid doesn't feel like, oh, I'm on the spot. They don't feel defensive. They could walk around, right? They could take the calls on the road. They could get them done on family vacation. And also the benefit is all of our mindset coaches, they were former wrestlers themselves. So that buy-in is right there. They have that hook. They have someone they could connect with right away. And like I said, a lot of these kids just need someone to talk to.
Oh, I could see value right there. I mean, it's like the parent. I remember when I was a young athlete and, dad's trying to coach and teach. And for whatever reason, there's always resistance there for the kid listening to, the parent or the parent/coach. It's a great point that you make. We have a couple minutes left. I want to talk about maybe some of these takeaways from the recent calls with Barnett and Bassett.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is what I love seeing is when you watch these high-level wrestlers, I've been speaking to people, I've been getting feedback after these calls, and they're saying, man, these high-level wrestlers, they're saying the same thing you guys are saying. They're not saying anything different. And it makes sense because, again, we're not just making the stuff up out of thin air. It's success leaves clues. We hear the interviews that they're having, what the high level people are saying. So it's pretty straightforward. So like when, Bo Bassett is saying, hey, machine gun mindset, we're like, yeah, that's exactly what we talk about, having aggressive, focusing on your best moves. Same thing we said. Bo Bartley is talking about having fun before his match with Shane Van Ness. These guys, they want to just have fun. They're thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. That's one of our 4 mindset principles. I'm thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. And when they're getting these mental reps, when these wrestlers are going through their 4 mindset principles every single day, twice a day, in the mirror, out loud, it starts to become a part of them. So when they get into the biggest matches of their life, they're ready. Boom, I have no fear of losing or making mistakes. Boom, I'm aggressive and relentless. And we've had multiple NCAA champions right after they won the Nationals, they get the microphone put in their face. Now, you think that kids nervous before going to a match, people are more afraid of public speaking. And boom, just well-trained, they're saying one of our mindset principles. I'm thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. So when you look at Bo Bartlett, when you look at Shane Van Ness, when you look at Bo Bassett, again, there's nothing new under the sun. They're saying the same things as us. Effort, attitude, aggressiveness. Don't focus on what other people are saying about you. I mean, obviously a public figure, 2 public figures like Bo Bassett and Bo Bartlett, they're going to have a lot of people who are talking trash about them on their pages. They don't care what other people think. They don't care. They're focused on their faith, their family, their success. They're right here. They're tunnel vision. It's not getting pulled in different directions. And I think that's what most people lack. Most people just lose their focus and they get pulled in different directions. Not the most successful people. They're boom, robot, right there.
It's so easy to lose focus nowadays. It really does take intention, purpose, gratitude, appreciation. I want to end with something you said, and I think this is huge. I've been talking about it a lot on stage, in my talks, and on the show, is doing the hard things. Raising your hand, volunteering. How often are we avoiding the tough conflicts, right? The tough matches, the tough conversations, the volunteering for the tough positions. I mean, that's how you get the experience, right, Gene? I mean, because you don't just walk out and become a Penn State wrestler with mindset. There's got to be the grit and the will and the things that go into it, and that is experience, no?
Absolutely. And we tell people all the time, like, this is part of our mental toughness series. One of the things we have them do is a 30-day courage log. We want them to be courageous. We want them to have a heroic mentality, right? So every day for 30 days, you do one thing that scares you. Now, nothing stupid, nothing crazy, obviously, but like you said, be the volunteer, raise your hand. If you're taking Spanish as an elective, try communicating with someone in Spanish. There's a girl you're attracted to in your class, start talking to her. But don't think about it. 3-second rule. Boom, hand goes up in 3 seconds. Otherwise, you're going to talk yourself out of it, right? Challenge a friend to best of 3 takedowns after practice when now the whole team can watch you. Challenge challenge someone to arm wrestling. Just get in the habit of just throwing challenges at people, just so in your head you could just snap it on and say, boom, I'm ready to go. Like if you say, hey, I challenge you to a wrestling match next week. Like I said, I'd challenge you to a wrestling match right now. You got to have this way when matches come at you and all of a sudden you have this guy or that happens, no big deal. You could just snap it on. Well, how do you build that muscle? Exactly like you were saying there, David. You get in the habit of doing the hard thing. So we have them journal it out. You have your calendar, one thing each day that's going to show them they did something to push themselves outside of a comfort zone. I often tell our athletes, you're a lawyer. And what does a lawyer need? A lawyer needs evidence to build a case. If I'm just telling you you're heroic and courageous, it's fluff. It's just talk. But once you put the pen to paper and you see you've done courageous things for 30 days, you have evidence for your case for yourself.
All right, Gene, much appreciated. We're going to take a break. You know the drill. Second part of our series. We'll come back after the commercial break here with Gene Zannetti, owner of Wrestling Mindset.
At the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.
And we're back on Nothing But the Truth on WMTR Radio. I'm your host, Dave Bruno. I have here Gene Zannetti, continuing our conversation, owner of Wrestling Mindset. You know, for lawyers especially, I mean, this is why I believe that my occupation, being a lawyer, is so similar to wrestling in a sense that it's an adversarial system, Gene. I mean, you walk into a courtroom, there's two different tables and one person is arguing against the other. And we're asking a jury or a judge to be the arbiter, to be the fact finder or the finder of law for issues of conflict. You know, so I am so blessed to have the experience as a wrestler. I think wrestling sets you up for life. If there's one, you know, and I'm a little bit biased to being a wrestler, but
you're right.
There's not many that go into a mat with nobody else. There's no other team to rely on. It's yourself, right? Discipline, sacrifice, hard work. These are some things that take people forward, right? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how these principles apply to those, because not everybody's going to go to Penn State or wrestle, you know, D1. Not everybody's going to go to the Olympics. This is a foundation.
Yeah, but and the way to look at it is everyone's competing, whether you know it, like it, or believe it. That's external to you. Your hat's in the ring already. So parents and kids, you better get good at competing, because you're competing for to win sporting competitions, or you know, you're trying to be first chair in the orchestra, or you know, to get the best grades, to get into the best classes. You want to move from level 2 to level 1 to honors. You want to get into the Ivy League school. You want to go to a Division I program. You want to compete in sports in college. You're competing. Say you're competing for a job. Then you're competing for a spouse, right? So the better you get at competing, the better your life is going to be, or it should be anyway, as long as you keep it in perspective, of course. And that's a big thing we work on with the athletes. You have to keep it in perspective. And you could do all this. It doesn't mean like you're mad at other people or you're walking around with the chip on your shoulder. There are a lot of people who have success having that chip on their shoulder, and they feel like they're always competing, and the rest of their life is in bad shape because they don't have the right mindset with it. Like competing, you just have to look at that as it's fun. It's what we do. It's part of life. It doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal, but you do have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared, because you might not be competing against them, but they're sure as heck competing against you. And the person who knows how to maximize their potential eventually will beat the person who has more talent. And that's exactly what mindset brings to the table. Most people have no idea how to train their mindset. Like if you ask anyone, hey, how do you get stronger arms? They'll tell you pull-ups, push-ups, rope climb, bench press, shoulder press. They can name the exercises. How do I get stronger legs? They'll tell you got to squat, lunge, leg press, thigh curls, reverse high press. They'll be able to give you the exercises. Yeah. You ask someone, how do you build confidence? They don't have a clue. How do you relax under pressure? Like, What are the exercises? Tell me to de-stress.
Do the thing. Get the experience.
Yeah.
Go through the hard thing.
Yes, but it's like people won't know really the exercises to how do you relax under pressure? How do you stay in the present moment? How do you get motivated? How do you become more aggressive on the mat? Right? Or in business, you might call it being tactfully tenacious, because ultimately the most successful people, they're hustlers, they're go-getters. I mean, how do you take a kid who's a dog that doesn't bite and turn them into a dog that does bite? Fair, square, and by the rules. Again, most people have no idea the exercises. For me, it's like clockwork. These are the exercises you need to build confidence. These are the exercises to relax under pressure. These are the exercises to get more motivated. These are the exercises to build aggressiveness. So just like there's different muscles in the body, a personal trainer sizes you up, says strong arms, weak legs, strong neck, weak grip. I'm evaluating athletes like that. Like, okay, you're very motivated. You need to work on relaxing under pressure. You're highly confident, but you need to work on mental toughness. Different mental muscles, just like different physical muscles. The problem is most people just have no clue how to develop them.
Yeah. Bringing awareness. I mean, this is the critical conversation to bring awareness to the community that this is the thing. I mean, it's holding most people back from excelling and being great and winning the big matches. You know, I think about honestly, I think this is a sport that it's beneficial to start early. Right? Because of the experience that you get. I see it almost as a positive feedback loop. You know, the wins bring confidence, the experience brings confidence. But what about the ones that are taking L's, that aren't winning? Maybe they're getting down on the results that they're having. Again, universally, it could be applicable. But what's the advice to the ones that feel like, you know, they just can't get over the hump?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, it's if you're doing the things right, if you're taking time, if you're training your technique multiple times a week, 3 days a week, you're working on your strength training 2 or 3 days a week like you're supposed to. You're working on your mindset every week, like actually getting that mindset coaching like we're talking about what we do. You're going to have success. There's not going to not be success. Like, okay, you might be around highly competitive people, but if you're around highly competitive people, success is defined a little bit different. In other words, you see a lot of people, if they get a B in Harvard, a lot of people think that's not successful. No, they're still highly successful. They're competing with the best and brightest in the entire world, right? So success might look a little bit different, but they are going to be having success if they're doing the things right. Usually what's happening is they're not crossing their T's, they're not dotting their I's. It's usually a lack of preparation. If they're going to their wrestling club all the time, if they're doing their strength training and they're not getting success, and it's because they're underperforming or they're losing to guys they should beat, there's no reason at all. If you could beat a guy in practice and not in a competition, there's no reason at all it should happen except you're a mental midget. You got to work on your mindset.
Wow. You know, you were a student athlete at UPenn, and obviously very smart. I'm sure you did well in academics. Right?
Pretty well. I could hold my own.
Right. I think that's an important conversation as well, Gene, is like this balance, you know, for these athletes that are excelling in the sports and the teams and things like that. I mean, what's your advice to also focus on the academics so that you could learn those skills as well?
Yeah, there's the NCAA clearinghouse, right? You're not going to be able to compete if you're not eligible. And then also your wrestling career eventually ends, right? There's no professional wrestling. And even sports careers come to an end too. The average professional sports career is not that long. So you better have a good head on your shoulders. You better be able to have a career outside of sports, right? And also is that the example you want to set for your kids? Like, maybe an individual has unbelievable athletic talent. Okay, your kid doesn't, and then what about them, right? They need to be successful too. So, you have to have your priorities in order. We always tell them your priorities are faith, family, school, then sports. I mean, I'll constantly, even my kids, my boys, they're 5 and 4. My daughter's 3. My boys repeat over and over: Catholic, gentleman, scholar, athlete, in perfect order. Catholic, gentleman, scholar, athlete. If you're not doing those things in that order, Daddy's not going to be happy. And I'm reminding myself too as the father, because it's really easy for any of us to lose perspective and start focusing too much on the sports. I'm reminding myself too. And you never sacrifice that which is lower. You never sacrifice that which is higher for something that's lower. So if I'm sacrificing wrestling for school, you're compromising, you're selling out on your values right there. You have to know that. That's why you need to know it in order. If someone's not going to mass, you're not going to church because oh, I have a sporting competition, you're selling out. Okay, you're effectively like, you at the end of the day, we could lip service all we want. You vote with your feet. Where are you? Did you go to sports? Did you go to church? Okay, you went to sports. You made a decision right there that was more important to you than God. You need to reprioritize. It's that simple. Same thing. It's like, school too. It's like, well, I'm not gonna take this as serious because I'm focusing on my wrestling match. You just sacrifice that which is higher for that which is lower. And you sold. So again, we're human. We make these mistakes. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I didn't do everything perfect myself. We just need to keep it in the forefront of our mind and repeat it over and over again. So we know this is where I'm at. I caught myself, reset. I caught myself again, reset. And life is a series of resetting ourselves because no one's perfect. Certainly not me.
Oh, sure. And you know what? That's where journaling comes in. I think that is the best thing that anyone could do to try to remind self. I personally use the High Performance Planner. It's by Brendan Burchard, who is the author of High Performance Habits. But with that, I mean, messages to self. I mean, first thing I write every single morning, avoid procrastination, triggers, patterns, and distractions. I've been writing it for 2 years, every single day. Why? Because I need to be reminded of those things. I mean, procrastination comes in all different forms. It's using your time for other things too, pushing it away. I mean, I'm an attorney, right? I got clients, growing a business here. Sometimes the procrastination is in a different direction. So it's like, I need it. I need to be reminded. And for a wrestler that's competing right now, man, there's nothing wrong with writing these things. I would get a transcript of Gene. I would sign up for the community. I would start writing these things every single day because these things, we need to remind ourselves of these things. Gene, thoughts?
Yeah, we all need reminders. And then, of course, when it comes down, so procrastinating, you want to make sure we have in our head causes and effects straight, right? Procrastination is an effect. It's not the cause. And what's causing us to procrastinate could be two totally different things, right? Not only are we working with the wrestlers who have their mental blocks on the mat, but a lot of them are struggling with different things. ADHD, perfectionism, dyslexia, depression, you name it, we've worked with them. Procrastination could be a result of many things. The person could be highly distractible, or they're a perfectionist. They need to get everything right at first. So, like I said, unless the mechanic looks under the hood, why are we procrastination is the effect. Let's get to the cause, because once I could rip it out by the root, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to put Band-Aids on problems. Don't go for the quick fix where you just put a Band-Aid on the problem. You might need that in the moment so you don't bleed out, but you better get that problem from the root. And that's exactly what a mindset coach would do. Find out exactly why you're procrastinating, rip it out by the root, and now we solve the problem.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, opportunity cost, is another foundational economic principle about the value of time and the alternative of that use of time, right? You're doing one thing, you are sacrificing something else. Also the rippling effect too. Gene, these actions, behaviors, these things that we do cause and effect. You want to talk about consequences? I mean, is it a pebble going into the water, or is it a boulder with the rippling effect of other different things? I mean, wrestlers, business people, lawyers, I mean, we all have to have these conversations.
Yeah, and also you're looking back to Aristotle 300 BC, where it's there's virtue and vices, the Nicomachean ethics. Virtue ethics, it's huge. It's still every bit as applicable today. You're either moving, so any decision you make is either building virtue or it's building in the other direction, vice. There are no neutral decisions that you're making. You're either building virtue or you're building vice. So it's like, okay, you want to eat healthier, you want to lose some weight. Well, you ate, you cheated on a meal, you had you had 4 cookies, don't have a 5th. You don't think it's a big deal? It's, well, I had 4 cookies ready, so I'll have a 5th. No, because you're going to make it that much harder to undo that habit, that character that's on your soul, right? The vice. So Just because you drown in 6 inches doesn't mean you should drown in 6 feet. And that's all, again, the virtue ethic. So there's no neutral decisions. And actually, it's easier. The more you're trying to succeed, the more things you're trying to succeed at. I find if I'm trying to be Catholic man, if I'm trying to be a husband, a father, a business owner, my apostolate, spiritual strength, the more things I'm trying to do, the more I realize I can't waste time with things that are going to pull me in the other direction. So that's why I think it's also really good that you have the high goals in different areas, because it keeps you on the right track. And it does, and it should, as long as you keep it in perspective, have a positive impact in the other areas of your life, as long as you're keeping it in perspective.
Oof. Spitting wisdom, Gene. Well done, my friend. We know what we need to do. Another repetitive statement I write to myself: do what you say. Solomon's paradox. King Solomon, one of the greatest, right? He knew exactly. He was a better teacher than he was actually at what he did. And I think a lot of us know what we need to do. It's about taking action. It's about hitting things head on, not avoiding, removing the fear, going after it. Man, what greatness here. Look, you're an intelligent man, obviously. What are some of the things you're doing now? Some of the books maybe you're reading, or the podcasts, or things that you're consuming in addition to all of your community efforts?
Well, we're 1 day away from Ash. We're 1 week away from Ash Wednesday, so Lent's coming up. So it's a time of spiritual revitalization, and it's not just a matter of what we're going to give up for Lent, which of course is part of it, right? The prayer, the fasting, the almsgiving, but really making it a point for that metanoia, that deep conversion, where it's give yourself entirely to God, and not just saying it, but really deep down doing it. So it's really thinking about, hey, we got to throttle down with our prayer life. Got to get back to Mass every day. Yeah, these are things that are going on in my head as we approach.
Sure,
Lent.
thank you for sharing.
As far as self-development, that's what's on my radar.
There you go. And the pedal is still, right? You still got that foot on the pedal rolling through. What about the weekend? Where are you going? Which region will you be at this weekend?
I'm actually going to a Catholic conference on Saturday at the Regency in Clifton on being a better Catholic parent and husband. So it's about a Catholic family life put on by Array of Hope. So I'm going to be actually going to that. So well, like I said, I got to keep things in proper order myself. And my wrestlers, my athletes, they're ready to go. They're big boys. They don't need me there. That's the whole point of preparing them ahead of time. I'm not some kind of magic pill for them. My job is to help them become good coaches for themselves, not for them to be dependent on me, foster a codependency, but to make them self-sufficient.
Oh, well said. You going to be down in Atlantic City?
I don't know about that either. We'll see. I'll be at the NCAAs. NCAAs are a big one for us because again, the very best scholastic collegiate wrestlers in the whole world are going to be there at the NCAA tournament. We'll be there, possibly a day or two in Atlantic City. We'll see.
Man, it is just unbelievable what Penn State has put together. This wrestling team, shutting out Iowa, right? They shut out Iowa.
It was bad.
Woo! This is a team that's coming too. We talked about Bassett, right? And they got some good recruits. Oklahoma State's got some recruits as well. They're all coming for the top dogs.
Yeah, and it's because, again, they have the same kind of the themes that they have there. You listen to all their interviews. Cale Sanderson's very secretive. Everyone knows, what do they talk about in the Penn State room? It's this big mystery. It's not a big mystery if you listen to their interviews, and that's very important. My dad was very big on that. We watched sports growing up as a kid, and after the game or the competition, whether it be the World Series, the Olympics, the Super Bowl, after the game, we'd start talking, and my dad would say, shh, Listen to what they're saying in the interviews. That was a very important mindset lesson because success leaves clues. When I listen to the Penn State interviews, I know exactly what Cale Sanderson is saying in the room because each one of the guys brings up the same 4 themes. And Shane Van Ness confirmed this on our podcast last week. Number 1, they all talk about faith. They talk about their relationship with God. Number 2, they talk about having fun. Number 3, they talk about scoring points. And number 4, they talk about gratitude. They talk about being thankful for the opportunity. So if you want to know what Kale Sanderson says, when every single wrestler is saying the same thing, again, it would be illogical, unscientific to think that that's not what they're saying in the room. Every single guy's saying it, and it's the same stuff we're telling the athletes.
Wow. I mean, listen, 2 shows today that we were able to record, and I plan on running them this weekend for regions and next weekend for states. And I think that a lot of the wrestlers in this state and beyond need to definitely hear you, my friend. And the community is open, and they could join too. I would endorse you and your company for sure.
Well, thank you very much. It's important.
Where could everybody find you, Gene?
WrestlingMindset.com. Go to our Instagram, our Facebook, our YouTube. It's all there. We're happy to help.
Absolutely. And this is nothing but the truth. I'm your host, Dave Bruno, flying solo with Gene Zannetti today. I want to thank you for your time. Coming, spitting wisdom, helping athletes, student athletes, and beyond. Thank you, sir, for coming on. Nothing but the truth. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We're the Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said...
Relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Law and Crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense expertise.
To get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.